We just stood around with tears in our eyes, knowing that there was nothing that we could do about it. And it's sad to see such a building like this go. Of course, when we saw it tumbling down, we knew that it was like a death knell. And the bell wasn't in it, but you could just about assume that it would be ringing as it was falling down. So I say that really hurt us.
They were the biggest textiles in the world. Sure. But there were so many mills around in this small section, boy. Nobody loafed in days, nobody.
We had a lot of good years there.
Yeah.
It's hard. We had to work very hard. Well, in my department, we had to work very hard, but...
You had to work hard in all the departments, but I know...
in them days, you did. You couldn't have soft jobs in them days. No matter where you went, you had to work hard in them days.
You see, when my folks came from Canada, they had no place to go but textile. That was it, period.
Tonight, we're going to let the people do most of the talking. They will talk about their lives, their dreams, their work, and a business that took a rocky and cold place called New England and turned it into a proud showcase of business and industry. A showcase that almost vanished overnight. Tonight, the people who remember it talk about it.
Well, in Pawtucket, at that time, everybody worked in
Yeah, it was either weave sheds or, weaving or in the cotton thread
some of them maybe
mills
worked a year or 2 years. Some of them may worked for years and years, but I think everybody in Pawtucket worked in
But
cultures.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a kid in our house, there were 6 kids, my mother and father. And when you got old enough to go out and work, you were expected to go out and work and help support the rest of the family.
That was all I got.
How much did you get?
$6.50 a week.
Well, I went to work in the mill when I was 14 years old. And so I told you that, for $3 a week for 54 hours.
But when I started, $19, that was not a good pay for a loom fixing, though.
No.
Not for the work that we used to do and the head that we had to use our brains.
I remember the first time I got $1 an hour. I thought I'd reached the pinnacle. you couldn't take vacation. We didn't have no vacations in those days.
When I took house, I bought my furniture at Feldman's.
50 cents a week.
50 cents a week. I gave them $1 a week for years and years and years.
Well, I'll tell you, when we got married on a shoestring. My husband had nothing, and I had $200, and he had absolutely nothing. I don't know how he had the nerve to do it, but I had to work along with him to help pay for the furniture we got.
But I know I used to get up every morning at 5 o'clock, and I used to take 2 buses, because then I didn't have a car, I didn't drive. I used to have to take 2 buses because I lived in Darlington. I'd take a bus to Pawtucket and one from Pawtucket to Coates in the morning and at night. I had to take 2 buses. I have still not got out of the habit of getting up at 5 o'clock after all these years.
Oh, yeah, you do that all the
5
time.
o'clock every morning I'm up.
This was the place to work, Atlantic Mills. You had a big crew coming down from the hill, Federal Hill, a big crew coming down from Silver Lake, like I say, Manton Avenue here. It was like a procession in the morning. You wouldn't believe it. 2s and 3s and singles, coming down Picasso Avenue. And you had a bell tower. The bell used to ring at 1/4 of and 5 minutes of. Nobody could set their watches by it. Guy would ring the bell by pulling the rope.
This is difficult work, Not too difficult to grasp, but it is repetitive, dangerous, unhealthy, and exhausting. Through the centuries, the process which turned out this piece of cloth hardly changed. If you're making wool cloth, you shear the wool off the sheep's back, then prepare it through a series of steps that made it ready for spinning. In spinning, you would take the wool and twist the yarn like this to make the fabric finer. To make strong thread, you would twist them together. From there, the thread was put on a loom where the cloth was woven, then dyed, inspected, and packaged. It was an assembly line, and everyone had a job.
So they picked me to learn how to fix. After learning how to fix about 4 weeks, I became a loom fixer.
We had conditions that you wouldn't believe sometimes. I walked in there, and I remember seeing brown bags hanging by strings from the ceiling. And I said, now what in the hell could a brown bag be doing hanging from a lunch bag, hanging from the ceiling? Well, I soon found out. The place was so infested with cockroaches that the only way to hang it up and not get it eaten up before you got to it.
Going in the morning, the alcohol was enough to knock you off your feet. And I hated running those darn, they call them tipping machines. They made shoelaces and put the tips on them, you know. And a thing went back and forth like this, and it cut the shoelaces to different lengths. And then this dye that was kept cool with the alcohol, that put the tips on the shoelaces. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Well, those pulleys up there were driven by huge motors, huge belts, and a hell of a racket all the time, but they were made out of cast iron. And sometimes the oil would clog up. That was supposed to keep them oiled up and running good. Clog up, and the thing would heat up. It would heat up and also actually turn reddish color and then explode, practically explode. And I remember one of them wouldn't go, and everybody ducked for cover. And there was a friend of mine by the name of Dominic, got cracked right across the head, and he was out for over a year. And then he came back, and he never was much good at it after that.
Of course, you understand, cotton was a dirty job. The loom was full of cotton. We was lucky that when we started, cotton was on the way out. See, so we was lucky.
Yeah.
Cotton was on the way out when we started, so we were lucky.
Yeah.
But some people down south worked there
They're
for
still
years and years and years, and they're still working
They're still on it.
on cotton. So because I don't know if they got any new inventions now.
Yeah, they've got like vacuum cleaners on the top,
Yeah.
like almost like vacuum cleaners. You know, and they pull the lint out.
Did you ever go in a weave shed, Casey,
No.
when that one, all them looms
Never
are going?
been in.
Did you ever go in the mill with, did you ever hear the racket? Tick, tack, tack, tack. All night I'd go home and I'd lay down in my head, I said.
By the early 1800s, textiles were big business in New England, so big that mill owners were having trouble finding people to do all those jobs in their mills. So they went to families and recruited children, and they went to the farms to recruit young women. The practice continued for a century.
13, 14. But you could go to work any time then. If it was only 9, you could go to work. I was taking $4.16 home.
Did that ever get any better? Never got any better.
No, not for years and years. Then it got up to 8, 9. But you got very poor pay.
There was a guard at the gate, and I walked right by him, and I went up to the boss, and I says to the boss, I walked right up to him, and I said, I need a job. Well, I was so short, I thought he was going to tell me to go home and grow up, and I didn't even look 14.
That's the way it worked. It wasn't. You didn't question. You didn't question whether you would like to do it or not. You just had to do it. You had to work. You had to bring in some money. You had to survive. That was the point then. Today you may have a choice. You say, well, the hell with it. If nothing works, I can always go on welfare or something like that. But not in those days.
Is in the shop with you. You got to build you a union, you got to make it strong, but if you all stick together, boys, don't be long, you get shorter hours. Working conditions, vacations, and pay gets to the seashore.
The working conditions, I don't mean machinery-wise, I mean human-wise. They were very tough on people, you know. They were really inhuman, you know. They talked to you like you were a dog, you know.
In a way, it was difficult to organize. Another way, it wasn't. We were all in the same boat. We were all poor. They passed out the leaflets. They had the meetings in the hall. They had the bar rooms meetings. They house to house, and I think people were very receptive to a union, as history shows. Anyway.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, all union goods. You had to buy union goods. Oh, it didn't make them where they were made, but if they were union, it had a union mark on them, a label. Yeah, but you wouldn't buy it, even a tie or anything. No. No, even straw hats in the summertime.
Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on?
During the recession there in 1929, that was a bugger, I'm telling you. That was something. There was nothing. The mills had all closed up. Everything was all closed up.
Well, we just struggled along. We just about made it.
Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Sing it! Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
I belonged to the National Guard then, so I reported to my guard up there in Providence at the Armory. So we're coming up Lonsdale Avenue, and who do I see on the street but about 5 of my best friends. They had, you know what they did? Some of them had guns behind the fence. They're shooting at us, and every now and then they'd take pop shots at us. And there's nothing we could do until the order came in and said, you will now have permission to shoot. I said, Joe, what's wrong with you? That's me. I don't care, you got no business to be in that uniform, you know? We killed one of my best friends. I was lucky. I was lucky to get out of that because 2 weeks after, when my term came up, after my 4 years, says, bye, no more National Guard for me. But somebody's got to protect the people.
You know, they're very bold and brazen, those union people. They came up here one night, knocked on the door, and wanted to know the reason why I had stopped paying the union. I told them in plain English, it's none of your damn business. I can do what I want with my money, you know?
I don't know, a lot of people saying, oh, we've come a long way. Well, they have come a long way. I mean, the union has done a lot. But by the same token, now I think they're overdoing it a little bit.
But I never cared for strikes, because when you go out on a strike, all that money goes over the dam, which you never get back, you know what I mean?
But the mills were going strong. Then the people got greedy. The people themselves, they wanted raises, they wanted this and they wanted that. And the people could not, the owners could not handle raises, and the people, the mills closed down.
Northbridge the same way. When they close that plant down, it's like a ghost town. Yeah. There's probably 25 or 30 houses that's abandoned. They're falling down like a ghost village, like a western.
That's what happened. Lawrence and Lowell.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
When the mills left, the chain reaction was almost too strong to stop. Some people blamed the unions, but there were other reasons. Taxes were lower, machinery was newer, and the cotton needed to weave the cloth was closer to the factory. Many of the people who lost their jobs simply went elsewhere. For others, it was devastating.
The people come to me after and they were crying. They lost their job and this and that. And I felt bad, little babies died.
I feel sad because I remember when it closed down, I think of all the people involved. People that had 30, 40, 50 years in this place. Put their whole life in here. And when he got through, there was nothing for him. No pension, no nothing. No gold watch, no nothing. Forget it.
They told him he was going to get $1,000 for a pension, a bonus. Do you want us to send it to you so much a month, or do you want the whole thing? So he said, well, I'll ask my wife if she wants me to take it. I says, take it. What they done to us was a dirty trick. You know what I mean? Moving down south, leaving us without jobs after all these years. I said, they might go down south and forget you, and you won't even get a penny. Take the $1,000. So he took the $1,000.
February 10th, 1983. The town of Cumberland learns that mill closings are not just a thing of the past. Owens Corning Fiberglass drops a bombshell. After 40 years, it is shutting down. Like so many before it, Owens Corning is moving south.
It was a shot, a hell of a shot. Especially a guy my age, I'm close to 50 years old. I don't know, where the hell am I going to get a job? Yeah, I'll get a job, but it probably won't be nothing like this.
Hope there's something out there. You know, go out and look for another job. That's all you can do today.
I figured I was here 10 years. I figured the place is going to be here forever. I got a job for life. Most of the people here, we all felt the same way.
After you get over the shock, it's just like anything. You go along. You're strong enough, you'll go along. You have to be in this world, I guess. We've gone through all the 2 wars and, atomic bomb and everything else, so I guess we'll survive.
Survival. People survive and industries survive. Here is one face of today's textile industry, the Lincoln Textile Company in the heart of Woonsocket. The people here do just one thing. They dye clothes. Their boss, a former mill worker himself.
It was a case of either relocating down south or I had the opportunity to acquire this company, this building itself, and go into business for myself. So I felt as though what I had to lose, I was never going to be a millionaire or whatever, so I figured I'd take a shot at it, and which I did. But it's, what irritates me the most is that, people, you talk to people, they hear you're in business for yourself, they have the attitude that, oh, you've got it made, It's because you're in business for yourself and maybe drive around in a nice car and eat at some nice restaurants. They feel as though it's, you got it made the rest of your life and you can sit back now and relax. Believe me, in this business, any business, you just don't sit back and relax and take the attitude you got it made. Because if you do, you're in trouble.
Me and my brother plan to be here as long as we can. Definitely run it. Someday, hopefully, be our business. Everything works out right. Learn as much as we can. Who knows?
They said well, a dying business, but this place has been going strong for the past 12 years. They've been here 12 years. This place has been going pretty strong since then. So, knock on wood, like I said.
Does it ever get really boring?
Yep, it sure does. Day in, day out, you better believe it.
A job's a job. If you can keep a good job nowadays, that's all that matters,
It's a very small part of the industry, and there are a few of us in the industry, and I don't think that most people want to bother with it.
We'll survive because we've become specialists. There are no longer huge plants batting out commodity-type items. Textile industry that you're looking at right now is a specialty-type company, making short runs, different type fibers. Not like the old days where a mill ran cotton sheeting, or a mill ran cotton broadcloth, and that's all they ran, thousands and thousands of looms. You don't see that in New England anymore.
if I had to start all over again, I don't know if I'd want a mill. Maybe I'd do something better with myself. But I feel this is an accomplishment for me working in a mill. I can't go nowhere else here but weaving.
It's a very hard life. You know, you work awful hard. Like, I'm covered with arthritis, and I know most of it I got from working in there and waiting for buses in the morning. I wouldn't recommend. That's why I don't like my granddaughters, if they can help it, to go to work. One of them's going to be a baby nurse, you know, and one of them's going to be a legal secretary. So I don't want to push them to go in mills if they can get out of it. But then in them days we didn't know no better, so we didn't go. I never thought of college. Only rich people used to go to college when we were young, huh, Casey? Right. But today they can get grants and things, you know, and they can go to college. But I don't think I'd want them to go to work in a mill.
I'd say no. I have a grandson, nearly 15. And I'm always asking, how are you making out in school? Because he goes to a trade school. And I says, look, Grandma wants to see you make something of yourself.
My father lives upstairs, and he was always getting after us to pull him out, to send him to work. Because he figured, you know, education, you don't need no education, you know, put him to work. And my oldest daughter, she wanted to quit, and she was top grade. First class in the class. It wasn't a waste of time, you know. And I got mad. I said, you stay in school. Never mind what the hell the old man says. You know, it's bad enough he shoved me in the air. You stay there.
But the ones that come out of Brown University that I used to hang around with, the first they got after they come from Brown University was taxi drivers and soda jerkers. And I made more money than any of them ever did in their life. And I only had a grade education.
See, I would have graduated from grammar school in June, but I got the job in January. And my father didn't say to me, stay in school till you graduate. Glad to get me to working.
But this started with my oldest brother, next to the oldest brother, and then it went to my oldest sister, and then it went to me. And it seemed we got the same teachers. We all quit in the same grade, same teachers.
And the majority of them were the same way. Education was not important.
Yeah. It's the only thing I find wrong with the Canadian people.
Yeah, right.
Work all the time. Yeah.
But I went to night school and got my diploma, though, anyways. I finished that. But I never went no further than that. I worked in there for 28 and a half years.
But I can still remember this place, and the memories are there, and they'll always be there, and I can never pass this place without a bit of nostalgia coming in the picture.
My husband worked in the Harrisville mill. He did odd jobs, like he worked out in the field, and he worked in the lumber camp out there and different things, but he loved the mill. That was his life.
Seemed like an interesting way to make a living. It certainly has turned out to be that.
We had a lot of fun there too, Casey, didn't we?
When it gets busy, I honestly put in up to like 65 to 70 hours a week, and I love it.
They did try a speed-up system. They did try, they bring in new machinery. They did try air conditioning in the place. In the final analysis, nothing worked. The handwriting was on the wall.
So what does all this add up to? There was no simple answer. In every silver lining, there is a cloud. Textiles gave people life and a living, but they made many people very sick and paid many of them just pennies. Textiles turned a river village called Woonsocket into a booming city, but when the textiles left, its people were left to flounder. People whose work and whose dreams have touched us in subtle, unseen ways. These buildings, their work, their culture, the fruits of their labor. It will be many generations before they are forgotten.